Wake up.
Have you ever stopped to think about the consequences of having narcissistic leaders at the helm of nations? Leaders whose inflated egos overshadow their sense of responsibility, shaping the destinies of millions with their reckless decisions. So let's delve into 8 devastating consequences of narcissistic world leaders. Under narcissistic world leaders, exploitation becomes a pervasive tool used to maintain power and control. This exploitation infiltrates every aspect of society, corroding trust, eroding democratic norms, and perpetuating cycles of injustice. Labor rights are disregarded, natural resources plundered, and wealth concentrated in the hands of a select few, widening social inequality and deepening poverty. Trust in leadership and institutions is shattered, social cohesion fractured, and the environment degraded beyond repair. Citizens are left disenfranchised and voiceless, trapped in a system that prioritizes the interests of the ruling elite over their own well-being. Under the tyrannical grip of narcissistic leaders, dissent is not tolerated. It's met with a chilling display of ruthless retribution. Any voice raised against the regime is seen as a threat to their authority and is swiftly and mercilessly silenced. Legal systems meant to uphold justice and protect citizens become instruments of oppression. Dissidents find themselves facing fabricated charges, unfair trials, and arbitrary arrests, all designed to intimidate and punish those who dare to speak out. But it's not just the legal system that dissidents have to fear. Physical violence, orchestrated by state-sponsored thugs or security forces, is often used to instill fear and quash opposition. They lose their jobs, their homes, and their livelihoods, leaving them vulnerable and destitute. And in the digital age, online harassment adds another layer of terror. Dissidents are subjected to relentless abuse and threats on social media, with trolls, bots, and fake accounts deployed to spread disinformation and incite violence. Freedom of expression is stifled, dissent is silenced, and fear pervades every aspect of society. These leaders envision themselves as untouchable rulers of their domains, orchestrating elaborate schemes to cement their supremacy. At the heart of their machinations lies a relentless pursuit of grandiosity and self-aggrandizement. They seek to immortalize their legacy, constructing grand monuments, renaming landmarks, and rewriting history to glorify their reign. Every action is meticulously crafted to bolster their image as omnipotent leaders, showered with adulation and reverence. They cultivate a cult of personality, saturating the airwaves with propaganda, extolling their virtues and demonizing their detractors. Crony capitalism flourishes, with loyalists rewarded handsomely for their allegiance, while dissenters are left to fend for themselves. Under the rule of narcissistic leaders, sovereignty becomes a mere pawn in their insatiable quest for power and control. Their actions are not driven by the interests of the nation, but by their own narcissistic desires for adulation and dominance. Narcissistic leaders view themselves as above the law, immune to criticism or accountability. They exploit legal loopholes, subvert constitutional norms, and stack the judiciary with loyalists to ensure impunity for their actions. Elections, once a cornerstone of democracy, become a farce under the rule of narcissistic leaders. They manipulate electoral processes and rig the system in their favor, ensuring their continued grip on power through fraudulent means. The media, meant to serve as a watchdog of democracy, is co-opted and controlled by narcissistic leaders to serve their own interests. Civil society, once a bastion of freedom and activism, is systematically dismantled under the rule of narcissistic leaders. NGOs, human rights organizations, and advocacy groups are targeted for harassment, intimidation, and repression. Their funding is cut, their activities monitored, and their members subjected to surveillance and harassment. Corruption thrives under the rule of narcissistic leaders, spreading like a malignant tumor throughout every level of government and society. These leaders view public office not as a sacred duty, but as an opportunity for personal enrichment and power consolidation. Their insatiable greed knows no bounds, as they exploit their positions of authority to amass vast fortunes through illicit means. Narcissistic leaders operate with impunity, shielded from scrutiny by a network of cronies and enablers who facilitate their corrupt schemes. They brazenly flout the law, confident in their ability to evade consequences and maintain their stranglehold on power. Public funds meant for the betterment of society are diverted into the pockets of the ruling elite, leaving the populace impoverished and disenfranchised. Under the rule of narcissistic leaders, spiritual bankruptcy grips society, leaving its citizens morally and ethically adrift. Their actions betray a fundamental lack of empathy and compassion as they exploit and discard others for personal gain. Moral and ethical values are eroded, replaced by a culture of cynicism and moral relativism. Communities fracture as solidarity gives way to self-interest. People become isolated, disconnected from one another and from the collective sense of responsibility that binds societies together. Under narcissistic leadership, social Darwinism can exacerbate existing social inequalities and perpetuate a cycle of marginalization for vulnerable populations. This ideology often promotes the myth of meritocracy, suggesting that success is solely achieved through individual effort and talent. However, it fails to acknowledge the systemic barriers and structural injustices that hinder equal opportunities for all members of society. This ethos often perpetuates a hierarchical structure where those deemed fit or successful are celebrated, while the unfit or less successful are marginalized. Instead of addressing these underlying issues, social Darwinism under narcissistic leadership often blames the less fortunate for their circumstances, reinforcing stereotypes. Narcissistic leaders, consumed by their desire for power, adulation, and control, often view conflicts and wars as opportunities to assert their dominance and bolster their image as strong and decisive leaders. They may engage in aggressive behavior on the international stage, such as territorial expansion, military interventions, or saber-rattling to project strength and superiority. Moreover, narcissistic leaders may use conflicts as distractions from internal issues or failures within their own countries. By directing attention towards external threats or enemies, they can rally support from their populace, unite divided factions, and consolidate their grip on power. They view military conquests as validation of their greatness and superiority, seeking to leave a lasting legacy of dominance. Now, what bold actions do you believe are necessary to protect our future from narcissistic leaders? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit subscribe, join our community, and together, let's illuminate the world with the brilliance of understanding. Until next time, stay firm against the dominance